guess that was
Just
it.
in case you forget, Matt's got those copies.
What's this?
Got signed.
Yes, yeah.
Minutes.
Okay, Executive Carver and Ms. Morris, if you guys would like to join us. Thank you all. How's everybody? Productive meeting? Tired. Yeah.
You want-
I'd like to commend Ms. Morris for doing such an eloquent job talking about West Salisbury and the research she did. I think she did a great job.
Yeah, the executive and the council may make mistakes, but I don't think Mrs. Morris does.
They're scared of you, I'm not. I guess what we could.
Football days, John, I hate
Yeah, I know. Council, I guess what we would do is, you all have the handout for the proposed capital improvement program. And I don't think it would hurt to begin with the narrative, to go through it. The narrative also, if in going through the narrative, you also see that you have questions referencing the actual numbers and the other breakdown of the 5-year allotments. We can sort of go between the two. I will begin, if everybody's okay with that. I just had questions on the page 2, where, and it's probably just me. It was saying as of June 30th, 2014, the amount totaled $109,355, but further down below, it said the outstanding debt was $105,182. And I didn't know if what I was missing there.
The 105,182 is borrowing capacity, and the 109,355 is the county's general obligation indebtedness. That's current. As of the 14th, that's our current amount. Our debt, subject to debt limitation, is here, the 105.
It said the outstanding debt of 105.
Yes.
That is subject to the charter limitation. That's what that means. That's what the debt limitation is set by the charter.
It doesn't say it's a debt limitation. It says
No,
it's the
I know.
outstanding
It
debt.
said debt, subject, 105 million, 105,182, subject to the debt limitation,
Right.
represents 48% of total capacity. You heard one of the speakers tonight say something about we were at 49%, and when we borrowed $15 million, we're going to be over 50.
Right.
Well, that's not what this says.
What he's asking is that,
Council President Don Parks has something to add.
Subject to debt limitation does not include leases. That's the difference between.
So that term,
105
subject to debt limitation, refers to,
The 105.
Which does not include lease obligation.
And it also doesn't include urban services debt.
if you don't mind.
Yeah, just in case.
Okay. Yeah, I just need a clarification. No, we'll move on. I guess the first area, is Warwick Community College. Any questions from the council on this? All right, we'll move on.
Mr. Cannon?
Yes, sir.
Everything up to page 7 is existing projects that are in previous year's capital budgets, but they are still in progress.
I
If you're
appreciate that.
focusing on the budget year 2016, I think the first project is on page 7.
Well, I had a question on even this. I mean,
Okay.
with Warwick, it says that the HVAC replacement work above was too low, and an additional $729,000 will be required in fiscal year 16. That was to me, that's almost like 16% of the total. I was sort of surprised to see that we're talking about additional work that maybe hadn't been anticipated originally. It's somewhere between a 16 and 20% increase.
I can't answer answer that question for you, John, but I can make sure that you get an answer.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate that.
They did have chillers go down, that they ended up with bad estimates. The gentleman that did the estimates did not get it right, and Dr. Hoy and I have had conversations on this, and that's what we're trying to, make up for the loss.
So it ran over in the project.
Yeah. It's $3 million. He's found everything except for this amount of money. It's over $3 million more than what they think it is. And anybody made the dinner the other night, he showed you how we're gonna do one end of the building, and then go to the center, and then go to that. It's gonna be over a 3-year period.
Okay. I'm gonna keep going here. I'm on page 4 there. Just a question on the emergency services, that we all know about this $20 million bite that we're gonna have to try to take here. Is there any state funding that's being developed for that, with that system? At this stage of the game?
Not that system. There is another, this system called Maryland One, but, Dave Shipley and I, and Dave's here tonight, along with a consultant regarding this system. Honestly, we hope to make it a little bit less than what we've anticipated here. Things have gone down, things have gotten a little bit better on pricing on some of this stuff, but we're still leaving it in there at that amount now. This first, we've got to redo towers, our biggest problem is Motorola is not letting us get parts and all that, and you've heard this when you and I came on council, how it's just phased out to where we no longer can get those parts. So that's why we have to look at this system so we can have it up and going.
Okay.
We hope to come in a little bit less, but until we get all the figures in, I can't give you the exact figure yet.
Sure. Anybody want to?
Can I
Yes,
back up
certainly.
one quick minute to State's Attorney Building, the purchase there. We have already bonded that and gone to settlement. We now own State's Attorney Building, so it's in our name now. We're not paying that, so we're able to knock that $25,000 off.
Good, good. Moving on, I guess, page 8. I had talked to the woman that spoke earlier about the endangered site status for state funding. I've given handouts to members of the council. Actually, she gave me handouts. Ms. Kramer and Melissa, you have one over there, if you could make copies for the executive. But I thought that was a very interesting point that she brought up as far as the old courthouse was concerned, as to some type of, classification
It's on 9.
As
It's on
a-
page 9.
as an endangered site.
Page 9,
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, it is page 9.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry.
Did she say that she thought that this would help us obtain state funds?
That's the impression I got.
Kind of alluded to it. but-
Yes, that's the impression I got, that if we were to classify it as an endangered site, then there would be some avenues for grants.
Not far off.
Do we have,
You're right.
do we have a grant writer or somebody that researches that kind of stuff? That could do,
Do we have a grant writer?
or somebody that would research that, what she's talking about? whether we-
Normally, Wendy Riley has done that in the past.
A lot of the grant writing, as I understand it, is left up to the department heads. And I'm not so sure we shouldn't consider someone to actually do formal grant writing.
Right.
Because it is,
I agree.
it's really, it's
We can
very.
hire that out. There's services out there.
Yeah, we had a grant writer, and maybe if we have a salary that would go to keep them, because we had one, they didn't last long.
Is that right?
Because of salary.
We would move on from 9, pipe in, anybody, I don't want to be the only one talking. Bob, I went to, I'm sure, the Morris Mill Dam rehabilitation at the top of page 10. I went to that meeting, they held it in Fruitland, and they're talking about spending, $400,000 to get the dam back together. The total costs are probably much greater than that. The total project cost being $1.4 million. And I asked the DNR people who were there, and I said, what is the purpose of the dam? And they said, well, the dam doesn't really have any purpose anymore. Why it was put there, it was back in the 40s.
There was a mill there.
It's a mill, okay. So as it is now, they're proposing spending the 1.4 to refurbish the dam. But my concern was that, why would that be necessary? I said, what would happen if you were to eliminate the dam? They said, well, you would lose the pond. And I said, what impact would that have? They said, we don't, and this is coming from DNR. There would not be a problem downstream or upstream,
Well,
outside of the
that's
fact,
that's
excuse me,
because
Mr.
that's
Kramer.
DNR. Now, if you ask MDE, they would tell you an entirely different story because the pond is incredibly important for stormwater management. It may not have an impact for DNR, but it would have.
I don't know if MDE was there or not, to be quite honest with you. I know that I know that it was a public hearing to evaluate the need for the dam, and I'm only going by that discussion. The comment made, and I do not want to oversimplify anything. I don't want to get rid of the dam, but something to think about, and that's why I'm bringing it to the table, because it's an open work session. The only comment really made was with all respect to what MDE's philosophy might be, they said the only thing is the value to the property owners that live on that current lake. And that's really where I'm going to leave it.
Well, let me be honest too, this has been on the previous CIPs, and I didn't change it, but I have not had an actual time to go out there and look. And I owe that to the council and the citizens to do that, so let me go ahead and put that up. It's something I need to do by this week.
Yeah, I went to the meeting, I thought it just deserved a flag, so everybody understood the full parameters of what was being done.
Some of these have been on for years and just trying to,
Mr. Hofer, could you use the mic? I keep getting people telling me they can't hear you or Miss Morris speaking.
keep it.
Thank you.
That may be by
I
choice.
can tell you, John,
The viewers want to
John
hear.
Redden has been given that question, and he's doing some research for us.
Great.
Bob, I would be interested in any meetings, or if you decide to go visit that dam, I'd be interested. I'd go out there with you.
Okay, great. I'll give you a call and we can ride out maybe towards the end of the week.
Please do.
So if we don't repair the dam, the pond, or what do you call it, a pond or a lake?
Pond.
Pond, okay. So then you would just have an empty pond with a stream through the middle of it. Now, how many folks live on this pond?
I think there are two.
Two. I don't think that residents that live on it would appreciate just having a big hole in their backyard with nothing in it.
I agree too, but then I thought 1.4 million.
Yeah, I know. I understand what you're saying, and I'm wondering if does the dam have to be built the way it's designed? Can it be
Joe, I
just
don't know.
put in with fill?
I can only tell you, we'll get John
Yeah,
Redden involved
yeah.
and we'll
John,
look into it.
certainly. Sure, thanks.
Well, while John's coming up, we did run into the same kind of conflict between DNR and MDE when we were dealing with the Mardella spillway and dam there, and residents do not want to see that dam disappear, but DNR would love for it to disappear because of the fish that can go upstream now, because they wanted a fish ladder and they wanted all this kind of stuff.
Well, what did MDE think about it? They wanted to stay there, right?
Yeah, they weren't vying for it to get removed or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
And, the point was made that those fish haven't swam up that creek in 300 years or however long that dam has been there, so they're not really missing out on much.
Somebody asked them?
Real quick on that one,
Charles right
we
there.
just finished the survey on that one, just so
Okay.
you know. We haven't done any design work, but it's still a private dam at this point,
That's
so
right.
that's the issue. Anyway, back on Morris Mill, our engineers are pretty much saying about close to $1.5 million to do the dam and keep it as a dam. The other option we looked at, the estimates were getting about $500,000. I think it's a little high estimate, but $500,000 to do away with the dam and leave it as a stream running through.
Right.
Big concern would be what the property owners, how they would feel. There's about a dozen properties, I'm not saying houses, but about a dozen properties that we're talking about. We haven't made any contact. I didn't really
Have you
want
talked
to
to
start
MDE
that yet.
MDE about it?
MDE was at the meeting, and it was the Dam Safety Division. Okay, we have two high-hazard dams in the county, Colburn Mill and Morris Mill. They would love for us to get rid of the dam, to take it away from a high-hazard dam, but that's the Dam Safety Division of MDE. When I talk to another agency, more of the environmental side, they're more concerned they'll lose the fish habitat, more stormwater management reasons, that kind of thing. They're not saying it's impossible. They'd be willing to work with us, but there's some permitting. Right now, we've gone with the permitting on replacing the dam. Now we'd have to switch gears and go for it, doing away with the dam. So it is possible.
So did I misspeak when I said DNR?
Yeah,
It
it was
MDE.
MDE,
Okay.
Dam Safety Division, yeah.
All right.
But it is an option, but and it's about $1 million savings, so it's a lot of money, yeah.
And then we have to watch ourselves sometimes, what do they call it? What is it? Penny wise and pound foolish.
Right.
Yeah, there are aesthetics that we always have to worry about in the county. I wouldn't want to knuckle us down to absolutely nothing, so.
Right.
I think it would be, not only the property owners, the people that pass that in cars every day would be kind of surprised to just see
Aesthetically.
a stream running. I've had
Yeah.
comments when they drain the ponds.
Oh, yeah.
People talk how ugly it is, and,
And a lot of people do fish it. I mean, it's,
All right, well,
anyway.
thank you, John.
Do you
Sorry to
have
hold,
any other questions of projects while he's here?
Mark?
Yeah, I have one. Westside Collector, this says it's deferred indefinitely. I just want to clarify, is it deferred indefinitely?
This microphone here. As I told you the other day in the
Yeah.
office, basically what I'd hope to do is put it off for a year, maybe 2 years at the most, till we found out exactly what the new governor's plan will be towards our HUR money. All of our money right now is going to go back to try to keep our roads. We've had to buy more salt this year, so I'm not sure where we're going to be on that. But I'm not trying to take it off indefinitely, no. We want to finish it out. It was a great plan, but, we just didn't have the money to finish that last $2 million.
Yeah, just, what's in here and then kind of what, I just wanted to.
It's just-
Yeah, no, I know. I just wanted to
Just the
clarify.
verbiage.
Yeah.
Okay.
And definitely gives us leverage.
All right, that's fine.
Definitely.
Quote advantage.
All right, fair enough.
Anything else that you would need Mr. Redden for?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes. I'm on page 11, Public Works, Solid Waste. The lower Wacomico River dredge, I guess I need to be explained to, and I've asked this question several times, about the fuel that was being used for the collector road from solid waste, why we were using, why does, and there's got to be a reason, why do we use the money from solid waste for the dredge material?
Because they had it.
Because they had it. That's troubling.
Good enough
Yeah, I
answer.
understand that, but that's troubling to me because this is, and I know that they had it. And not long ago, the fellow that was in charge of Public Works was up, advocating for more money for stickers, and this is last year, because the solid waste was coming up short, so that meant they were gonna want more money for tipping fees. We were being warned that it was gonna come along. I don't understand, I'm having problems why people on other parts of the county are having to pay more tipping fees to pay for this. If that's what it comes to. We don't know that's what it's coming to in the budget this year, but anyway.
I'm not planning on it coming to that, Joe. I'll tell you where we are. What this was for, this was to develop a new site. You're right, the Sharps Point site was dug out, roughly 180,000 cubic yards were dug out. Cost a total of almost $700,000 in all. And basically, the equipment that we had to do it was within solid waste division. So the cranes, the off-road trucks, that type of stuff, cost about $700,000 to do. How many extra fills will that get us now? That should last.
Maybe one more, actually.
Just one more pump, one more thing. So what we have got in this budget and what we have already bonded for was a new site location for the lower river. The lower river right now is going to the Red Roost site. It's full. We can't do anything else with that. We've had a couple spots that we're working on. None of them seem to have turned out to be really positive yet. One that we thought was 49 acres has turned out to be 29 acres once we got a real survey on it. So the state that was going to give us part of their land has now said they don't want to give up land. So we're at a real crossroads here. Another thing was that I just got off the phone with Dave. They keep saying we've got to be within a 5-mile radius, and they gave me a place to where it looks for. Well, they got confused. They said a radius, and they mean a 5-mile diameter. So that shortens my window down by 2.5 miles of where I can look for it. So we have got some very positive things from DNR that are willing to help us purchase the property. So we just have to get several of these things straight. And that's what the $500,000 is for the lower, $500,000 for the middle river.
Well, I understand what it's for. I'm just, my concerns is it's coming out of an enterprise fund that really doesn't have anything to do with dredging. I mean, it's coming out of our solid waste fund, and
It's really a good point. It landed there because.
because that's where the
There
money
was
was
nowhere
at.
else to
But
put
yet,
it, you know.
last year, we were hearing how in dire straits that our landfill was gonna be and was gonna need more money, to operate, but yet we see we're, so anyway, we'll see where that goes.
I wish there was another revenue source,
Yeah.
I don't know how.
I mean, we're not, we're
Boat users, barges.
Yeah.
Anything else on the waste sites? I was disappointed to see that the gasification plant's being yanked completely.
Really? Why?
I bought into that 110%.
Well, BFI has not bought into it, so I mean, when they buy into it, I'm ready to put the county behind it.
Even the part about fixing up old bicycles.
Easy guys. My concern is the fact that we can't keep digging holes. You've heard that. We're running out of, you think you're having trouble right now with the spoil sites? Wait till this develops in, 10, 15 years where we run out of room for cells. And I'm assuming that the cells will have to be even closer together. It's not like you can pick a cell here or go out there. I mean, I've got a feeling you're probably going to have to stay within, the same
We
proximity.
have roughly 25, 27 years left on this landfill at this current rate. We've got 4 cells left. We probably will start developing cells by next year, the next 2 cells in the back. But honestly, John, the only problem I have with the gasification was it was not a proven science yet. And I did go up on that on that tour up to New Jersey.
Right.
And the one thing the gentleman said, that it would not do wood. And this was looked at, a lot of strength was put in towards it to help with the chicken manure.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, what is manure, but if it's not wood, the wood shavings and that type of thing? They said it would not do wood. It wouldn't burn the wood. So were we any further with a private-public partnership of $75 million? I didn't see it, hadn't heard of it. So that was a problem. That's why I've just taken off until we can actually breathe again. I just can't see putting that in and not going to go anywhere with it. I mean, I was asked that I want to put it in, and I said no, because I don't see the feasibility of it happening within the next 5 years.
What about zero waste as far as what's been established in Maryland? I know we have a new governor. I didn't know if that was something that was still going to be.
I have not heard any more on that. Weston's here.
Weston's-
The zero waste thing, it was interesting. When I was at Mako a couple years ago and I read that first article that they came out on, it's not zero waste. It's zero waste without paying. They want you to go to zero waste, but if you don't go to zero waste, you have to pay per ton into the state. I think what the state's seeing is most of the counties was making money off landfills, and they just wanted a piece of it. So it really wasn't zero waste. I mean, the drive was to zero waste, but you could have waste, but you had to pay the state so much.
And we've done a
per
good
ton
job
that you
towards
put
our
in. So they were just
recycling.
trying to get part of our revenue from landfills is what they were trying to do.
We're
So
kind of ahead of the schedule right now as far as the percentage that we're doing for recycling. And last year, you all started the recycling of the mattresses. So that's going to protect the landfill a lot longer because that's one of the worst things for a landfill,
Right.
are mattresses. So, and
You can't compact them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're compacting all the soil around, spongy.
and we're sending those somewhere up towards Queenstown. I'm not sure exactly. I passed a truck going on Wednesdays to up there, but anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've been told, there are successful gasification plants out there. I just don't know to what degree.
And
I
with
just haven't-
aluminum
haven't
and
had a chance
things
to
like
study it.
that and the steel, they have been very successful.
Mhm.
But for household waste, it's not been proven yet.
we're making money off our aluminum and steel, recycling it, right?
Yes.
Well, I understand what you're saying about gasification. 25 to 30 years for at least a couple of us behind this table isn't too far, too far in the future.
Or else on this side of the table.
Yeah, can we get a clarification?
You can figure out who I'm talking about, but,
Those that get offended or disagree with you.
so if it's not gasification, are you looking at other things? I mean, to add to your, already large burden.
In all honesty, in the 2 months that I've been in office, no, I haven't really gone out with anything else. But yes, it is a problem that we've got to look at. I mean, just like the methane gas out there, we're trying to sell that. We're trying to use the carbon credits, all that we can use. So, I agree with you 100% because I want the landfill or whatever the next technology is that we can go ahead and keep Wycomico County at its optimum rate. But it's, right now, I don't know of any other technology. It's up for John's office and Weston Young to try to figure that out, you know, and that's what we're willing to look at.
Bob,
Yes.
what do we do to encourage people to recycle? I go out of my way to save a plastic bottle till I get home to throw in my recycle bin. I just put an aluminum can in a recycle bin in there, and I walk by and notice one in a trash can. I mean, we don't even police ourselves here.
I thought that was a recycle bin, plastic bottle in there too.
So, I mean, we could save the landfill if we encourage the county residents to do more recycling.
Sure. We have 11 sites now that we have recycling bins at.
But that doesn't mean people are gonna use them.
It doesn't. I mean, what can you do? I mean,
No, that's what I'm asking.
yeah,
The Solid Waste Division has a recycling coordinator, and part of the job, as John explained to me last year, and we may be able to do more of that, is that we wanted to engage that person in the community, have them go out and speak to the chamber business community, where they can actually get the message out. We've put up additional recycling centers for that very purpose. But until people actually are educated on the realism of what it means to our landfill, it just won't happen.
Right. And if we are making money on the aluminum and the steel, why can't we encourage people?
Same thing.
It's for profit and you're saving the landfill. I'd like to see us go green.
well, a lot of the recyclable items have gone down in value just due
I
to the
understand.
market right now. But
It's always up and
the
down.
steel is still very high. But maybe we can put you on a committee with our.
I'll be glad to serve on
to
it.
go out. If you can figure it out, you know.
I can't say I
short
can
of
figure it out,
mandating
but I'll serve.
Everybody to do it, you know, I don't want to put trucks out on the road to collect everybody's recycled goods, but we'll do what we can.
Right.
Okay.
Our recycling coordinator has done an awful lot. Henrik Wise is his name, and he's done an awful lot lately. He's been dealing with the Board of Ed, trying to get them online, and just making sure that recycling does happen in all the schools. He's taking tours, students are coming to us from Warwick and SU, and some scout troops and all that, so there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that's happening.
Okay.
He's going to City Park for all kinds of Earth Day and all that.
Are we ahead of the national standard as far as recycling?
We're headed, we're substantially ahead of the
State
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 recommended.
of Maryland, yeah.
I know at one time one of our previous directors said we were, but it's hard to see that when you walk by trash cans with aluminum in them.
Thank you. On page 12, I guess we're coming to the Chesapeake, the whip. I don't know if there's any discussion on that. That leads us to the Wycomico County Board of Education. The second paragraph with the Wycomico County Board of Education, with the county executive's recommendation and reconsideration of the plan to demolish the Bennett Middle School. I personally have some concern about that, Bob. I didn't understand the last paragraph at all as far as there remains a requirement for the executive to introduce and council to approve resolution or legislation authorizing the use of bonds funds initially sold. I'm not so sure it's even legal if we do this. I know that Carolyn Elmore made some comments tonight referencing state statute, and Mr. Baker, I don't know if you had the opportunity I would suggest, unless you were already familiar with it.
I was familiar with it. I want to double check it to make sure, because I read some of AG's opinions today. I think that dealt with a provision in their charter like we have that says that if you don't use it within 3 years, you lose it. And the Attorney General was saying that is too restrictive, that there's no provision of once you've given it, just because you haven't spent money, you've lost it. Which I don't think would be as applicable. I think it's a close question. I think the one thing that would concern me the most right now is whether or not there's not a contract for it. Because if there's a contract for it, then nothing we can do. Because it was bonded money, and if they entered into a contract for it, we'd be in trouble to try to pull back on it. But Lindsay outlined what we can do under our current law, and I think the state law and the education article is very vague on what we can do. So I think we've got a lot more leeway there. in the absence of a contract,
And the what?
in the absence of a contract.
Yeah, because I was under the impression, in reading the material, I thought that we probably did not have too much.
You're talking about Lindsay's, okay?
That's right.
When you go to Lindsay's opinion, from a bonding standpoint, you really have three options. Well, there are three options. One is you vote to demolish the building, which is fine. You probably could do that under our bond documents. You could retain it with no demolition, let it go forward like it is. Repurposing it is what she had a problem with. There's a interplay of our statutes that if you read through it, the project has to be virtually, I think the wording is essentially the same as what you bonded, so you've changed the bonding. And you cannot do that and repurpose the building. But you could take the building out of the project, and frankly, bring it back next year as a new project, but not part of the Bennett High School project. Are you still confused?
Yep.
Yes.
More so.
Okay. Try to approach it this way. Two sets of laws are involved. One is our charter and our budgetary procedures. That's what Lindsay was addressing. You've got a bond out there or a project that says you're going to demolish Bennett Middle. Now you want to change that project. Looking only at our code, you can change that project as long as you don't change the use to make it for a new use. So for example, proposing that we repurpose Bennett Middle to become a county building or county in conjunction with the Board of Ed, or bringing in any of these other places that we rent to. That description of the project violates what was originally in the bond fund, so you cannot do that, at least at this stage of the game.
Okay.
You could say, we don't want the building demolished, we're just gonna leave it standing there. That would depend, looking at the Board of Ed, from the Board of Ed's perspective, is do they have contracts that already say they're gonna take it down? Because if they've entered into a contract based on our appropriation, we can't change it at all. But if there's no contracts, we could change it, we could leave the building just there. If that happened, then Mr. Culver could look at it, decide he wants to do something different with it, and bring it back as a new project next year. You just can't use any of the bond money to renovate it and repurpose it.
Okay.
Okay?
So,
Now, addressing what Ms. Elmore brought up, is the question of the state control over education. And that's the one that's a little bit more unclear. The Attorney General's opinion that she referenced, I don't think is really pertinent to this situation. And I think the biggest thing on that side is, there is case law in Attorney General's opinions that say if they've contracted it out, then there's nothing we can do.
Can we ask the Board of Ed, is there a contract?
We have a contract with the construction management firm right now, and like I said, we're getting ready to go to bids for the trade contract portion of that.
Signed contract?
What does the contract say? I mean, could you elaborate on the contract?
Brian, come into the,
Again, Brian Foray. Yes, we have, I guess we have we have a few contracts in place. We have contracts with the architectural engineering firms for the design of the project itself. And then we have contracts in place with the construction management firm for the actual executing the work itself. The next phase of what they will execute will be the development of the bid packages for the trade contracts. So that's where we are.
We don't have a contract to tear the building down yet.
Well,
It doesn't sound that way.
No, we don't have a contract. You've got a contract with a construction management firm to oversee it. But, Mr. Baker, am I right in saying that?
I say, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the contract to tear the building down.
Right. If I may.
Sure.
It's a little bit more complicated in that what we have in the scope of work with the state of Maryland for both the James M. Bennett High School and the Phase 3 portion and the Bennett Middle School project includes the demolition of that facility. So if you do not, then we're going to have to probably go back and discuss this with the state of Maryland because their appropriations were also based on the demolition of that facility.
Yeah, that was the other point that I was gonna make separate from the contract is state contributed a certain amount of money based on property being torn down.
Right.
If it's $2 million, they pay a portion of it. So, if that's not done, somebody gets some money back or doesn't pay as much.
Right. It's that description of work is involved into the development of those scopes for those projects. So, okay?
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, I just think we need to pick our battles sometimes.
Well, I didn't want to make a battle out of this. That's not my purpose at all. My purpose, and I know the Board of Education needs office space. It's been talked about for years. And the portables that they have are in bad shape. We've been told about that, and they're not doing too well. So what better place to do than put a Board of Education in an older school? Now, the walls in the school are not bearing. It's a freestanding building. My thought was to go in there, all I need or anybody needs is 4 walls to go ahead. Yes, we've got remediation we've got to do. We've got all that kind of stuff to do. Insulation, you can come in and build another wall inside the wall and do all the insulation you want to. The gymnasium, I don't see why that would need to be torn down. The gymnasium is perfectly good to be used for community activities. It could be used for nighttime basketball, Parks and Recreation could, possibly have leagues over there. So to come in there and use a wrecking ball and tear it down, a year from now, we're going to look at it and say, well, we could have used that gymnasium for this program or this program here. So why rush in tearing it down? I didn't see it. I understand the fields, and never have I ever said that I don't want to put the football field and the soccer field and the track and all that there. I've always said that. As a matter of fact, with my thought, we could go ahead and start that this year. As soon as Bennett Middle students move out, we could go ahead and start that field, but put it on the 8 acres next to South Division, where the playing field is now and where the track is now. Mr. Foray and Kathy and Bruce and I, we all talked yesterday about getting a bigger track. I don't know about the track, but it's something about more lanes in a track, and I think that's fine. I have no problem with that. But it will fit on the same 8 acres that they want to sell. I did not see the need to sell the 8 acres next to South Division Street. So that's why I had proposed this, that, they would get office space out of it. The other building, if they don't need the full building, could easily be used for storage. We spoke about this, that we have so many locations in Wycomico County that our files are kept at different places. We need to consolidate and get all of our stuff together. So it would be great storage space for Wycomico County itself. So
we still have the issue of our own bond counsel telling us that can't be done.
No, they said, no, the bond council.
Well, can't be done with the money that's bonded.
Right.
What, the money that's bonded, but that doesn't mean that if we.
Other money later on.
We can bond it with another project of by that time that gives us a chance to find out how much we're going to do. In all honesty, Matt, and I'll be honest with you, if I were to get in there or somebody, we chose to go in there and look at it and say, look, there's just no way you can save this, then I'd be the first to say, let's take it down. But until we have a chance to get in there and do that I just feel like we're rushing too hard. The fields can still be built if they're built on the other side. And the fields would not be held up. And that's where I feel like some people have been misled in that, but they may just not understood that the fields, even though they were supposed to go by Mr. Foray's plan and all that, where the Bennett School is, they could still fit in the same track over here, so.
Mr. Foray, can they fit in the 8 acres over on the?
We did a quick analysis of it, and it looks like it would require, excuse me, I'm sorry. I understand the concept of what Mr. Culver is trying to do. However, in a quick analysis we did just today, trying to look at the needs based on the geometry of the remaining parcel and the needs for the fields, it would take between 10 and 12 acres, and we only have 8 acres. So it's a geometric challenge to try to do what we're trying to do and keep a building on the same piece of property. Maybe with some more work, you can take a look at something. I guess, again, to do anything other than what we're doing right now is going to delay the project. So you just need to keep that in mind, that if we go do a study, go look at doing something with this building, because all the designs, all the permits, everything is lined up for the current plan.
I guess I question why you say 10 or 12 acres when Bennett Middle actually takes up 8.8 acres and the spare piece takes up 8.2 acres.
Oh, I just had the architects to take a look at the fields that are going to be, the fields that are going to be replaced, and the building and the track, the fields and the track, and to tell me what we would need and to be able to replace that in another location. And that's what they told me. I mean, and I get the idea, but this hasn't been studied. So to go study it, you're going to have to stop what we're doing.
The renovations, no small task. It's just the idea of renovating it, turning it from a school into a set of office buildings.
I didn't say it was ever going to be easy. I just said it was going to save money. You know?
I thought it would be probably expensive.
Well, that's what we've got to look at. If we go in there and start tearing it down in June, we're not going to be able to know it. So, I mean, that's what I'm proposing. And as I just told you, if we're wrong, I'll be the first one to admit it. I'll own it. But if we're right, how much have we saved in taxpayer money over the next 20 years?
Do you have an idea about that figure?
No, I'm not going to speculate on that until I have somebody that's probably more qualified with commercial buildings than I am.
You talk about leases with the different county offices. How many county offices have leases? Do you have an idea about that?
Board of Elections, Local Management Board, Health Departments, Dental Clinic, WIC Clinic. I think those are all.
There's like 5 different ones or 6 different ones now that we paid for the state's attorney's building.
Yes,
Do you have any idea of whether their leasing needs will be met by this space? I mean, how much square footage are they using? How much square footage would be available in the school? I mean, how much square footage does the Board of Ed need?
Well, those are all things we need to sit down and talk about, but if we're moving so fast, we don't have time to talk about it. And I'm just asking for time, to be honest with you.
Well, so as I understand it, you'd have to come back with a capital project in next year's CIP
Yes,
to do this.
to actually rebuild the place, yes.
So it'd be a year.
But we have enough in the money that's already bonded. We have enough to build the fields and all that if we want to go ahead and do the fields now. They're not to start really before, I believe, Brian, didn't you say just December 2016? You were going to let the fields out?
The fields will be delivered in September of 2016.
2016, okay.
We
delivered.
would actually start construction this June.
Okay.
So that's why
I thought
I say
they
we're
were
at the
actually
11th and a
17,
half
okay.
hour at this point to be able to continue on the schedule that we're doing.
But again, I mean, you're talking about April, so this is 1st of March, would give us roughly 30 days to get people out there and see if it could even be done,
One additional point, I mean, if the project is put on hold for now, and then we come back with a new project to repurpose the building, if the purpose is not gonna be school-related, then we have to have the Board of Ed surplus the property and give it to the county.
And the state.
The Board of Education cannot allow the use of school property for other than school purposes. They can't lease it out, give it to us or anything like that. It'd have to be county property at that point.
I understand that, what you're saying, but I guess I have a question. How do they do cell towers and lease that property out and get paid for that?
I assume they're doing it for their own purposes and then leasing the extra space on the towers.
So how do they get away with that if they're not allowed to use it for, you just said they're leasing that space out, so how do they do that if they can't do this?
I think there's probably the difference between school property and a cell tower,
It's on.
a school facility.
It's on cell tower. It's
Yeah,
on
no, I
school
mean, I know
property.
it's on school, I know it's on site, but it's not a piece of school. It's not a school facility,
Right.
which Bennett Middle is a school
Educational.
facility.
Seems like it's the same thing to me.
Yeah, I just don't know whether the horse has already left the barn. I believe me, I'm as conservative as you are, and I do believe, you know, in trying to save whatever we can. I just don't want to create a patchwork like Comico County. I want it, you know, to be smooth processes that are developed and seen to fruition. And, you know, you drive by and you don't say, well, what's that? You've got this over here, but what the heck is that thing, you know? Sort of leftover pieces here and there. I'd rather see, you know, a better all-round picture for the county as a whole.
Well, that building's been sitting next to another school for
Too long?
a long time. I
Too
mean,
long?
No, that's not what I'm saying, but why would it look like a patchwork with it sitting next to the new school? You know, I mean, it was sitting next to the old school. Why would it, I don't understand that reasoning, you know?
It's just me.
Yeah.
It's just, some of it's gonna be personal perception.
I think, as they said earlier, Bob thinking outside the box, I commend him for it. There's not a lot of people that take the heat that he's taken over this to try to do this. So I wonder why, but, you know, why not just go along to get along, Bob? You know, and that's what everybody's been doing in the past, is go along to get along. And I think it's admirable of you to step forward and try to look at this in a different way. You know, that's what we seem to do, is tear buildings down. I recall visiting Bennett High with a prior council person that graduated from the Bennett High School the first year it was built, the original Bennett. And he was shaking his head and he said, you know, this school doesn't look a bit different than it did when I did. Why didn't they remodel this school? Why didn't they put air conditioning in it? He said, why are they tearing it down? I said, well, how would you have voted if you'd been on the council? He said, I don't know. He said, it would have been a tough one. It just seems like we're always in the tearing down business. And you look at that building and the square footage of it, how many offices it would hold, parking, and you go into the building on Long Avenue and see how cramped up they are. I don't understand why the Board of Ed isn't jumping at the chance to try to get this done.
Well, maybe a few years back, I think a few years back, maybe that would have been something to think about when the prior councils and the prior executives made the decision to build Bennett Middle School, period. I think the whole, Bennett as a whole, I think that should have been, and I'm sure that was taken into consideration. It wasn't go along to get along at all. These are well thought out, structured planning on the part of the Board of Education and the county councils as well that were involved in that and involved in that decision-making process. And when Bennett was put in, this was the second part of that whole process, and we knew that was coming.
Well, in all honesty, it was done 10 years ago, and I understand that, and I know it's been a long time. But 10 years, a lot has changed. This whole world has changed in 10 years. I mean,
For good or bad?
give me back
Good or worse?
2005 anytime, and I would be, you know, sitting on a beach somewhere. But things aren't the same. I'm just telling you, I mean, the whole world's different. Income's different, how people are perceiving things. And that's what I'm trying to do is trying to make it as beneficial. And I'm not trying, I want nothing more than our kids in Wycomico County to have the best education and the best available technology. Don't get me wrong. But if we're going by ages of buildings, I don't think, why was Y High remodeled? You know, why was it not torn down and let's go ahead and build something? That's probably one of the, you know, that's my alma mater. But the point is it was older, much older than either one of the Bennett schools, you know. Y Junior. We're not going by age. We're going by whatever the driving factor was for Bennett High to be rebuilt. I do not believe that J. Rowland DeShield built those buildings in such bad cases that those are the two schools that had to be torn down. J. Roller Shield is one of the best companies that ever built on the East Coast. And I today will tell you that I don't think there's anything wrong with the building. Yes, if time changes, yes, we don't use asbestos anymore. We don't put all the windows in. We have thermopane windows. We have triple windows now. So we've got a lot more energy efficient. And with that going into a new building, we can make this new building energy efficient. But not if it's going to be a pile of bricks.
Little history on the Y High. The Board of Ed did want to tear it down. They did want to build a new school. And the county council at that time was wise enough to deny that and said, let's remodel.
I wasn't aware of that, but anyhow, so.
Yeah, I agree with all
Correct,
those.
what, Matt?
I agree with those philosophies 100%. I just think that this is too late. That's all, that's it.
I understand.
A couple more questions. So, how long do you think it would take to figure out whether this could be done? How long do you think, and then I'd be interested in how long, because this has to be in conjunction with the Board of Education. I would think that they would have to
Stop the
building.
plans and all that.
Well, I mean, that they'd have to be involved with evaluating it for their office needs and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
how long would it take you and the Board of Ed to sit down and figure out whether this is realistic or not? I would have preferred that to be done before we got this and the CIP, because, but I
Well,
understand
again,
the
the
limitations.
CIP
but-
was presented to you all, what, a month ago?
A month ago.
And that gave me 4 weeks from the time I got in office, but it's not been a secret throughout my whole campaign that I want to try to save money where I could.
No, I know.
So, I did not have but 4 weeks to work this out, and quite honestly, there's been a lot to work out in 4 weeks, so.
Well, actually, I think you've been on the job 3 months, I think. December,
This-
January,
so
February.
January, February, that's
So
2
3
months.
3 months, December.
No, then you go to January, that's
Yeah, I know.
1 month.
Yeah.
It's January to
You've
February.
been in there all of December, all of January, and all of February. Now we're into March, so we're in your.
You're starting the third month.
No, we're starting the fourth month.
Starting the fourth.
Anyway,
It's going to be April before we're done.
Yeah.
you've been in there 3 months.
Well, how time has flown, it hasn't,
Exactly,
anyhow,
exactly.
so if it's been 3 months.
It's 3
yeah,
months,
so-
but I understand your time constraints. And I've expressed that to you, that I wish that this would have been much more well thought out before we got it. So how long would it take for
Well,
this
I
to be a
can,
well thought out?
I can call people this week and have some people over there to take a look at the building, to get estimates and all.
Well,
I'm asking for the 30, if nothing else, give me the 30 days to try to get people over there and look at the building and see if it could be done. Now, I can talk to Brian, I think, you can tell me what the needs are from the Board of Education. I don't know.
Well, if I could interrupt, Brian, we'll have to know this by the 17th.
Right.
We'll have to know this by the 17th to take that vote. That'll give you 2 weeks. It'll give you 2 weeks instead of 30 days.
I don't think that can be done, John, in realistic terms. So, it's your call. You all do what you want to do, but I'm telling you where I stand, so you tell the people where you all stand, so.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Brian.
Well, just a few things. I think that's an incredible short period of time to ask the executive to try to put an entire feasibility study together on something that, we've done extensive feasibility studies on that entire complex. And one of the reasons the Bennett's were replaced was it started with an air conditioning project, just to be honest. And we started looking into it, and it became a systems issue. One system led to the next and the next and the next, and before you knew it, you had to do what you needed to do. It was more cost-effective to replace it. The same thing held true for Bennett Middle School, and that's why the previous administration and councils said to replace the schools. Because to do the things that you needed to do, especially for a school, and the reuse of it was, it was cost-effective to replace it as opposed to bring it up to speed.
I have to stop you on that one because we have a DVD that needs to be replaced. Am I correct?
Yes.
Can you just hang on?
I just need a
Just
few
1
minute
second.
break so he can change
Okay.
CDs. Thank you.